my podcast, Lips of Steel, unscripted, unfiltered, and unstoppable conversations with and about women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Today, we're going to talk about all things college applications and getting students ready to head off to college. So I have my very special guest, Stacey, who is a college counselor and a mom. So she's been through this a couple of times. Twice in 2 years. Or in 3 years, I guess it was. So we're going to talk a little bit about this process. And you are working for a local college counseling service called Today's
College Solutions. Today's College Solutions right up the street in Westlake.
And let's talk about college applications. Thank God we're done with that for ourselves.
Yes, I'm so happy I'm done.
So let's start with, where do we start? Where should a parent start thinking about the college application process?
So Nicole, you and I were having this conversation before that applying to college has greatly changed since you and I did it many years ago. Yeah. And during that change, you need to, we're getting a lot of parents now that are coming to us with freshmen, ninth graders in high school. And that might seem like a little bit of an overkill, but what we try and do where I work is create a story and also a relationship with that student. And in order to do that, actually, the earlier we are with them, the better. Right. And we, meet with them once a month. My coworker, Daryl, and owner of Today's College Solutions, he really forms a relationship with these students, and he gets to know what they like, what they don't like, what colleges these students are interested in going to. And a lot of times they don't know. Yeah. They think that they want a certain type of school, and the more you ask them questions, that the students realize, wait, that's not the type of school that I want to go to.
Right.
And you need time in order to develop that relationship with the student. Right. So having them come to us as seniors, even though we can speed up the process, it's really not the best, because we need to develop a relationship with them and help them pick out the schools that they want to apply to, and also start creating what we call the story, which is where students, they try and do a lot of different activities to put on the college application, and a lot of times more is not better. But what the colleges want to see is consistency. So if a student is on a sport team in high school, they want to see, well, they were on the freshman team, as sophomores they did it. By the time they're seniors, they're on varsity. They did it for 4 years.
Right.
So it's developing that story so you can then wrap it all up and send it off to the colleges.
Well, and I like the idea of the word story, because, when it comes down to it, their college essay, that is their story. Yes. And if they have not been thinking about it all the way along, they've got to pull at straws to figure out, what am I going to put in my college essay?
Right.
So I like the idea of starting even, I was thinking sophomore, but freshman sounds like they can be much more effective. Plus, because colleges are getting harder and harder to get into, and there are so many majors that have come out of the woodworks, even in the last few years, that it's almost like they're specializing before they go to college. Right. So being able to talk about what their interests are and what the potential direction they're going to go, and take the classes in high school that are going to support that application for that major.
Right. And it is very important for some majors, not all, but if you get a student who wants to be an engineer, right, let's say, it is important that in the activities, it shows them doing something during those 4 years that points to engineering. And a lot of the public schools don't have classes for you to take on, and we understand that, but there are summer classes. Yes. There are clubs that you can join. There are a lot of these colleges now offer summer programs for high school students so that they can take that over the summer. And again, that's something that you put in the activities section of the application. And it adds to the fact when the colleges are like, oh, they want to be an engineer, but look, they've done all these things adding up to it.
Right. And you said, colleges, I mean, even when they're in high school, they don't have to take core classes necessarily, but, they can even take a fun class during the summer, or they can take an online class that gives them some information about whatever their major, or even if it's not their major, their interest. And it will help them to define their interest as they're moving through the high school portion of their education.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you and I both know that, our girls, your daughter had a much better idea of what she wanted all the way through. My daughter was not quite sure, even though she was thankfully part of an institute that gave her leadership skills, business skills, and all of that, which, ended up helping her make her decision on her major, which kind of, to your point, she was able to access something through her school that gave her direction.
Definitely.
And that's super important. So, okay. So once we're developing the story now, starting hopefully as a freshman. Don't worry, parents, if you have a child that's a sophomore or junior,
it's okay. It's okay.
You still have time. You can still do that. So, let's kind of go talk about the junior year, because junior year is, they say, the most important academic year for a college applicant, because that is really the last year that the schools look at their grades. So
yes, and parents don't realize that.
Yes.
So when you're talking about a GPA, you have to understand that when you're applying to colleges, we're applying September and October, their senior year.
Yeah.
So
their grades aren't in.
They're not in. But colleges will look at the classes they're in for rigor, but they will not see the grades that they get. And
especially if they're early decision or early action.
Yes. If you're early action, you're putting your application in by November 1st.
Right.
So a lot of colleges might even give you an acceptance in December before the grades even come out.
Right.
So what that does is it puts more pressure on the junior year, because the junior year is the last year where the grades count for the GPA. In some ways
that's kind of good, though, because, boy, the senior year.
Senioritis is a real thing, parents.
Senioritis is a thing.
Yes.
And, thankfully, most kids will kind of pull it out, because maybe, hopefully they've done most of their more difficult classes early on, and the senior year they can maybe skate a little bit. But encouraging the kids to really focus, not saying that they don't want to focus freshman and sophomore year, because it's a story, right?
Right.
So we're just, it's the third chapter of their high school story.
Yes, very good. Yes.
So, and the colleges not only want to see good grades, but they want to see consistency and progression.
Right. So, they want to see, and it depends. This is where it's important to start talking to the students about what they're interested in doing in college, because the level of math that you're in might not be as important if you're a history major.
Right.
But it's very important if you're an engineering major. Absolutely. And colleges do know, they look at the high schools that these students are going to, and they know what classes are offered, because public versus private high schools offer different levels of math or English or whatever, but the colleges know that. So again, if you're
they also know the rigor of the school
exactly.
too. So
exactly.
Because these college counselors, which I don't think a lot of people understand this, that the admission department has counselors that go out across the country, and they have a region that they're responsible for.
Yes.
So they're very, very aware of, let's say, like we live in the Conejo Valley. They know all the schools in the Conejo Valley.
Yes.
And probably into the San Fernando Valley.
Right.
They can look at the comparison of the curriculum for each of those schools. Mm-hmm. And when an application comes across their desk, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I know this school. And, it's great, they got an A, but, maybe it wasn't as rigorous, or they got a B, and okay, that's a great grade, because that school is super difficult, and their curriculum is very highly academic and very rigorous. So, again, I don't think people understand that the college, there's not just 3 people sitting in a college counseling.
They're very aware.
Admissions that don't even know your school. Right. They do.
They do. Okay. And like I said, like different high schools have different levels of math, but these colleges are aware of that. So you're not going to get dinged if your high school only goes up to a certain level of math. They're aware of that.
Right. Okay. So, junior year, talk about grades and getting, making sure that junior year is a very solid year. Let's talk about like other things that parents can do to help prepare their kids. Visiting colleges and getting a view of, how many colleges, you would know the answer. How many colleges are there in the United States right now? Do you know?
Hundreds. I don't know the exact
thousands,
number.
I think. It's in thousands.
An awful lot.
I know Daryl will be able to quote it off the top, right? But thousands of schools, everything from junior colleges to local colleges, private colleges, universities. I mean, there's a little of everything. You've got colleges in rural areas. You've got NYU that's
right. in the middle of the city. Right.
You know, so let's talk about the differences in the colleges and what parents should be showing their kids.
So one of the things that I think is the easiest way to go about this, especially your junior year, is if you're going on vacation, if
Right.
you're visiting family for Thanksgiving
Right.
or the holidays or Easter, no matter where you go, there's colleges there.
Everywhere you go.
Everywhere. And what I told my daughters when we were looking is the more colleges you look at, the more you know what you don't want. And then you're
Right.
able to kind of getting, you get smaller and smaller with what it is that you're looking for. So, and again, a lot of these students have no idea. When you say that you want to go to a big school, what does big mean to you?
Right.
You know what I mean? What does big?
Good point.
So I had...
and it depends on where you grow up. I mean,
exactly.
You know,
exactly.
if you grew up in a
your
little
version
small
of big,
town,
right?
It
right.
might be a very different picture.
And especially in Southern California, both my daughters were born and raised in this area. They've never left.
Yeah.
So for them, it was very important to me, having been born on the East Coast, that they be aware of the weather conditions. A lot of students who have been born and raised in Southern California, they have no idea. Yeah. And so for them to say, oh, okay, I'll go back east. Have you been back east? Number one, have you been back east in the winter? Do you understand?
Do you understand
right.
the amount of layers you need
right.
in a winter in Boston?
Right. And for some kids, it doesn't matter, but for some, it really does.
Oh, absolutely.
And so,
or not just the cold, but the fact that it's cloudy for
right.
6 months of the year. I mean, the seasonal affect disorder, depression is a thing.
Well, living in Michigan for 6 years, the sun goes away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come out for like 4 months.
Right.
If you're a Southern California native, that will affect you.
Absolutely.
Whether,
we had clouds for the last 4 days, and I was like,
right.
I just want to cuddle on my couch and be a recluse.
Right.
I don't want to go anywhere.
Right. So I think when you look at it in that way and you take a very leisurely approach, we're going to go visit our grandmother in Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving. We're going to drive by a couple schools.
Right.
We're going to look at the campuses. We're going to see what's small, what's big. We're going to, is it close to an airport, parents? Because that's important too.
That's a thing for sure.
How is it close to, is the university close to a big town, a small town? Is it an hour, in the middle of nowhere? Right. And these are all things you can do leisurely while you're visiting relatives for the holidays. And so we highly suggest that you do that. Now, the one problem with that is it is important to visit a college when that college is in session.
Right.
Because an empty college is very different than a college which is in session. And you can go into the cafeteria and see the hustle and bustle, and you can see the students walking back and forth, to classes. It is important to kind of get a tour of the campus when the campus is in session.
You want to get the vibe.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely get the vibe. Because one of the things that I noticed in doing the college tours that we did is you watch the students.
Right.
You look at, are they walking alone? Are they walking in groups? Are they clutching their books and, head down and
do they look happy?
Yeah. Are they talking to their friends?
Right.
Are they engaged with each other?
Absolutely.
Are there other things going on campus? Is the campus a vibrant campus? Not everyone wants a vibrant campus, but if that's something that's important to you, look at the vibe and look at the personality of the people on the campus, because people will be attracted to that vibe.
Right.
And those are going to be your peers for 4 years.
Exactly.
So you're going to live with them, eat with them, go to class with them. I mean, they're almost like a spouse, Right. It's you really want to make sure that you are, you're getting your people.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was my younger daughter, I was waiting for her outside of her dorm. This was in the fall. And a lot of students were walking back and forth. And what I noticed, which was very interesting, is that 90% of the students that were walking around had some type of, whether it be a backpack, a t-shirt, a hat, that said the school on it.
Right.
And I thought that they really like that school if they're walking around campus.
Representing.
Right. And you do go to colleges where you don't see that.
100%.
You don't see it at all. And I've been to colleges where I've seen students on campus wearing another college's sweatshirt. What's going on there?
That says all you need to know.
But it really does. You notice, I mean, maybe as a parent, you notice it more, but you notice that and you're like, okay, these students really want to be here.
Yes.
I mean, they're really sporting the school.
And they've connected.
Yes.
I think, knowing that they've connected, that they're collecting the merch.
Yes.
And that is kind of woven into the fabric of who they are,
right,
as a student. So that, I agree, that is such an important element, I think.
Yeah. So junior year visit.
Yeah. And I think the other point you make here, if you're going to Pennsylvania and visiting grandma, you probably have other family members there.
Right.
Talk to those family members about their experience. Maybe they have kids that are going to those local schools. See if there's other friends in the area. Mm-hmm. Ask them about their experience, because schools do change over time. What is the current situation at school? Go on their Instagram pages or their Facebook pages. Kind of, see what people are talking about.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's it. And that just gives you, in doing the school visits ahead of time, this is, you're not going to 20 schools. You're just you're picky like one or two big schools, one or two medium, maybe a private school, maybe a public school, whatever.
Yes.
And this is just laying the groundwork of what type of school you think you might want to apply to.
Right.
Now, you and I both worked with Daryl.
Yes.
And one of the things that I really appreciated about Daryl, and I think this is one of the most important things for parents to understand, is, we get so caught up in our head about, I want my kid to have the best.
Yes.
I want my kid to go to the best school. Well, what does that mean?
It has to be what's best for them.
Yes.
Has to be what's best for them. And you and I both know families where students have gone to school. And I have a junior in college now, so I know more.
Almost a senior.
Almost.
I know.
I know a lot more, but of these families where the student will go as a freshman to their college and university, and after the first semester, they're like, I don't like it here, I'm coming home.
Yep.
And then they have to reapply to a different school. And so our goal is to prevent that. Right. And so again, what Daryl does is he really gets to know the students. He is able to pull out of these teenagers who don't talk. You know what I mean? What is it? Do you want a school that has a football team? We call them rah-rah schools. Right. Or are you okay going to a small private school that doesn't have a lot of sports, that's a little more quiet? Because the goal is that your student goes to the school that's best for them. Not just the name of the school, because then they're more likely to stay at that school.
Exactly.
And, and finish and get a degree, but enjoy their time there. That's important.
It is so important because, being away from home and, for our girls, 2,000 miles, well, one of yours got to stay pretty local, thank goodness.
Yes.
Our girls are 2,000 miles away. It's like, that's a lot to be that far away from family and friends.
Right.
And they need to find their people.
Yes.
They need to have that the people that are they can connect to and then connect to all the activities on the campus.
Right.
So let's talk about, the essays. So, well, again, we've gone through the visits, we've kind of figured out where we want to go. Now it's a decision. Do you stay with your college counselor at your school or do you hire a college counselor? Big decision to make.
Well, it's hard. I mean, for me, I work for a college counselor. I am a college counselor. So I will say this, the high schools do have college counselors and they do their best. And some are a lot better than others. But when you look at the sheer number in our area and I'll just talk about public schools without naming public school names, but the sheer number of students that are in those public schools, these counselors do a great job of making sure the student stays on task with, have you contacted teachers for letters of recommendation? Have you, they're going down a checklist. Have you taken the SAT? Have you done this? Have you done that? But there's really no way that one high school counselor can know 350 seniors. Right. And it's also very difficult for them to help these seniors through the essays and proofread them and does this essay really talk about you? And that's where we come into play because we're able to do that. Right. The essay that you write for college is very different than any essay you've ever written in your life. It is not the normal high school essay that students have been taught for 4 years how to write.
Yes.
And so for them, it's not that it's difficult to write, but they're very unsure of, wait, can I do it this way? Can I say this? Can I say that?
Right.
Yes. Yes, you can.
You can say I
Yes.
a lot.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But what's also very important is that you want the essay to represent that student.
Tell their story.
Yes. And that essay is kind of the end of the story. It wraps up the activities that they've done. It's wrapped up the experiences they've had. And so you want that essay to be unique to that student. And Daryl is fabulous with being able to coach these students through that because, again, he's been with them 2, 3, sometimes 4 years.
Well, I think the other thing that is important for parents to understand is the essay is not about a checklist of,
No.
I got these grades, I did these activities, and I'm a good student and I'm a good person, because guess what?
Yeah. Everyone can say that.
Everyone can say that. Students have the same thing. So one of the things that I like about the process with Daryl and with today's College Solutions, which is there are many counselors out there, but the thing that I particularly like about the way they approach it is look at not just your high school experience, but let's look at the things that shaped you prior to that.
Right.
What are some, there's people, these kids have been through a lot.
Yes.
What are the things that stand out about them? Not just the story. You don't want to get caught up in the woe is me, my dog died, my the dish ran away with the spoon, whatever. You don't want to get caught up in the story so much as how did that story shape you
and make you who you are today.
Right. How did you evolve from whatever went on in your life?
Right.
To and we've had some, we know there's some big stories out there. Like my daughter, her dad died when she was 6 years old. That's big stuff.
Right.
But that's not who she is.
Right.
What did she extrapolate from that experience that shaped her to be who she is today?
Right.
And that is what's going to set you apart.
Yes.
Because they're reading hundreds upon hundreds of essays.
Right. Right. The activity section of the application tells them what you've done. You don't need to summarize that yet again in the essay. The essay is talking about.
Wait, that's a good point.
Yes.
You don't need to talk about your activities in your essay.
No, we don't want you to.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's a very important thing.
But if through the activities you've learned something, or like you said, with your daughter losing her father when she was young, did that loss, let's say, help her go into, you were telling me she was doing something where like volunteering and
right.
helping
others.
Helping others.
Yep.
That one experience when she was 6 led her to helping others, and therefore the activities are going to show that she was in these different events and these different volunteer, events. And then you're going to wrap all that up in the essay.
Right. Which I loved her essay.
Yes.
It was a pretty good essay.
Absolutely. I know.
So when should, the applications are not due until November 1st for,
so this is another timeline.
Deadlines.
Yeah, this is another timeline. So every college has a different deadline for their application, but to get the most out of scholarships as a whole, you want to try and have your applications in by November 1st.
Okay.
Now that's not the deadline. Like the deadline for a certain college could be January 15th.
Right.
Right. But you will not be eligible for scholarships if you're applying by January 15th. That November 1st for most colleges, now there's a couple where it might even be October 15th.
Okay.
But November 1st is kind of like the deadline they call it early action,
right,
where it helps you then you can get some scholarships if you apply by November 1st.
Okay, so that's another important. Let's talk about the difference between there's early decision,
yes,
early action,
yes,
and regular decision.
Right.
Okay, and then you got your transfers, which is a whole different topic.
Yes.
Okay, so early decision.
So we call it ED, but early decision is it's one school.
Different kind of ED.
Oh my goodness, different conversation.
Different conversation.
It's one school, and you have to be. That has to be the love of your life. That has to be the school that you
would
want
just
to
die if you didn't get into.
And you will go to no matter what, no matter how much it costs, no matter what. And because when you apply ED to that one school, again, it's normally November 1st as well, but you check a certain box saying, I'm applying early decision for this school. If you get in, you are obligated to go to that school.
You're actually contractually obligated.
Contractually obligated to go to that school.
Right, because you actually have to sign a contract when you go ED to that school. You have to say, no, if we get accepted, we will go.
Whether or not you get financial aid, whether or not you get a scholarship, no matter what, you have to go to that school. So you have to be very careful in saying, I want to go ED to a school, because it locks you in. Right. And you're locked in whether, you get financial aid and that school's now $30 a year, or you don't get financial aid and that school's $75 a year.
Right.
So you just need to be very careful with ED. Early action, again, it's still the November 1st deadline, but what you're just saying is, I'm applying early, I'm extremely interested in you. You're going to hear back earlier now than most other students who don't do early action, but it doesn't lock you in.
Okay.
And you
can apply early action
to multiple schools.
To all schools. Except for, there's a couple schools that don't allow early action, right? Is there some that they don't do early action?
Some it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And some schools are actually, this is another thing, they're rolling. Rolling means you can apply, well, I'll just throw a school out there, Baylor. Off the top of my head. Baylor's rolling admissions, meaning that in September, if you apply to Baylor September 15th, you'll know within 2 weeks whether you got in or not.
Okay.
You can apply October 1st, October 15th. No matter when you apply, you'll know within 2 weeks whether you got in or not. And so that's called rolling. It's rolling admissions and rolling decisions.
Because they're not waiting for everybody's applications to come in, evaluating everybody, and then picking from that.
Right.
If you meet their criteria.
Right. Then you're in.
Okay.
But early action, if you get it in by November 1st, you'll normally hear back before January 1st. And it's just nice for some of these students to know, oh my gosh, I got into a school. It just takes
the pressure
off.
The
minute they hear they got into one, you can just sense they're like, I'm going somewhere. I got into a school.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely huge. Okay, so we're going to kind of move through. We've done the applications. The kids have made a decision between early decision, early action, and then of course regular decision, which regular decision comes up after.
It can come in January. It can come in February. It all depends on the school.
And a lot of the UCs.
Oh, they're not until March or April. The end of March, beginning of April.
Right. So you're waiting a long time to know
for those, correct?
Which is tough, because even if you've got an early action decision, you can sit on that
for months
until the regular decision. Like, let's say, I applied to UC Berkeley, and that was my dream school, but I didn't want to ED to it, so I've got to wait until the 1st of April to find out whether I got into Berkeley. Which is fine, because then we have our next deadline, which is decision day.
Yes, May 1st.
Or signing day, I guess.
May 1st.
So all of this stuff happens, and May 1st that's when they have to commit to the school.
Yes.
So yay, we got our kid into college. Woo! All right. Well, before that though, you're probably, in that period of time between getting your early action acceptances and all through there, we have spring break. We have maybe winter break too, because if you've got into a few schools, now you have an opportunity to
go visit.
Kind of hone it down to let's say your top 3 to 5 schools, and then really get in and visit. Go to their acceptance days.
Correct.
If they got into a special school, like a business school or a school of engineering or something like that, go to their presentations that they hold, because that can be a deal breaker right there.
Oh, absolutely. My younger daughter applied to a bunch of schools all over the United States. And so we visited a couple, but after that couple, I said to her, there's no way that I'm going to fly, to 12 schools, each one in a different state.
Right.
So I said to her that what we're going to do is we're going to wait until you get into some of these schools. And then once we see if you've gotten in and if you've gotten any money, then we'll go visit.
Right.
So that way we're not, and it's not wasting time, but like there has to be a central point between visiting some schools and visiting every school that your student wants to go to.
Yeah, it's just because sometimes it's information overload.
Yes,
It's just, and you and I both know how our daughters processed through this. Our daughters went to high school together, so we have that in common. And ultimately, they ended up going to the same college.
Yep.
2 different schools, 2 different pathways to their decision. But your daughter put together a chart. And I cannot say enough how brilliant this is. Now, she did the gigantic one. Did you bring it with you?
I didn't. I forgot. I knew there was something.
Okay.
Right.
So
it was on the wall. It was a huge wall chart, and she had done it in marker. And so she had all the names of the schools. And then what she would do is, because for some of the schools she got scholarships and some she didn't. So when we would get the acceptance and it would say how much money the school was, she would also write that down in a column so we could see the schools that she got in, but how much they cost.
Right.
Because that's important for the parents as well.
And then but you evaluated other things, like you looked up like what the dorm satisfaction, the food on campus.
Correct.
Proximity, like you said earlier,
to airports.
Proximity to the airport.
It's so important. I won't name a school, but we flew out to a school where it was a 2.5 hour drive from the airport to the school.
Right.
And while I was doing that drive for the one and only time that I did it, I was like, there's no way we can do this for 4 years.
Well, and because they're going back and forth, they're going to come home for winter break. They're going to come home potentially for spring break, or they're going to need to travel someplace. If they have to get a bus or whatever transportation
every single
time,
it does matter. It does.
It makes a big difference.
And you and I can attest to this, whether there's a straight through flight from LAX
or from your home airport,
right? From your home airport, wherever that is, to the to where that school is.
That's not that one airline that has flights that charges for everything that we don't want to name.
Yes.
You want to have a major airline that has a direct route if possible, because that is a game changer when you're visiting or when they're coming home.
Absolutely.
Especially if your kids haven't traveled a lot.
Right.
And
again, they're 17, 18 years old. They don't know these things.
Right.
But back to the chart. So as the year went on, my daughter would fill out the chart, with the money and, how far it was from the airport and the weather and whatnot. And so then it was easier for us to just look at this chart, everything's all together, and start checking off schools that were a no.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the easiest thing, is get rid of the absolute no's first. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because that's the easy thing to do, and then get it down. So, and then you're going to go and tour your last, like I said, 3 to 5 schools.
Right.
And I know for me and for my daughter, we did our last 3 schools. They happened to be regionally, within 3-4 hours of each other. We toured one, and that was her number one choice, she thought. And it was nice. It was like a good campus, but there's just stuff like, that like spidey sense that,
it's a vibe, right? and the students pick up on the vibe.
Yeah.
They really pick up on it. Mom, it's not my vibe. And they can't really explain it.
Right.
They can't really say why, but it's
she
important.
Still loved it. She still loved it, to the extent that she's like, she took that other 2.5 hour school that she got into, 2.5 hours. She's like, too remote, taking that off the list.
Right.
We didn't even go. We didn't do the tour. And then ultimately we were going to do our last tour at the school, and she's like, I don't know. I really like the school. I'm not, I'm 90% sure that this is the school I want to go to. I don't really need to tour the other school, but we were flying out of the airport there. So I'm like, we're already going. Let's go check it out. And ultimately, after driving around the campus, doing the tours, and they just did such a phenomenal job in showing what the school had to offer. And my daughter was just stunned, and ultimately that's where she chose to go.
Yay!
And your daughter had already accepted. That was the other thing. We had to go buy your daughter's merch.
That's right.
So we went there for shopping and ended up staying
the merch started
for 4 years of college.
Yes.
So, all right. So once you've gotten all through this, it's May 1st, you've committed to a school. Now what? Now we got to get them ready to go off to college.
Oh, wow.
And that's a whole thing.
It does make a difference. Like you had said earlier, I have a daughter, my older daughter, is going to a school 20 miles from here.
Right.
Getting her ready to move in was very different than getting my younger daughter, who is halfway across the United States, ready.
An airplane ride. I mean, it's an airplane ride, no matter what.
So, it's very different. So with my older daughter, it was a lot of just driving back and forth.
Right.
And she would forget something. And so the next weekend I would drive it up, and it really wasn't an issue. Yeah. But with the younger one, we had to really logistically plan out, okay, what is it that we're flying out there? And what is it that we're going to pick up out there? Because you can't take everything. So, I was telling my younger daughter, toiletries. We can buy all the toiletries.
Yeah, they have a Target.
All the toiletries at Target by your school. I'm not going to pay for, luggage that just has toiletries in it when you can buy it at the Target across the street from your school.
Right. And most major colleges have stores in proximity that they can pick up. And when if you're taking your kid to school, you're probably renting a car, and you can hit up Costco. You can go to, or if there's a Walmart or a Target or whatever store happens to be in the area, you can pick up a lot of the stuff there. But let's talk about the stuff. I mean, you look at, I don't know, I see on social media, first of all, the bed parties. That's a thing. That's a lot. They end up with, I look at that and I see that all the stuff on the bed and all their merch and all, I'm like, okay, that just filled up 2 duffel bags.
Right. Where's that going?
Yeah. And what else are they going to have room for if you're taking them off to school? So,
well, what's also important is at some point during the summer, you're not at the beginning of the summer. It's more towards the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Your child is then given their roommate.
Right.
And communicating with the roommate as to what the roommate's going to bring, because that's also, something that they're going to be sharing a room together. You don't need to have 2 of everything.
Right.
Or 3 with some schools, if there's a triple, or
a
with
quad.
4
yes.
in a room.
Yes. They're stuffing kids in these dorm rooms because they're
getting more and more impacted.
Kids, and they don't have the housing.
Right.
And, literally, if you look at some of these dorm rooms, they've got 4 beds, like 2 bunk beds in a space that, I mean, some of these kids the bathrooms at home are bigger than these dorms.
Right.
So by piling them with all the stuff, you're really just creating a hazard.
No, it is. Well, and so with my daughter in her room of 4 students, 2 of them were in state and 2 of them were out of state.
Right.
So obviously the in-state students who were packing a car were more able to bring just odds and ends that, I'm not going to pack a Swiffer on the airplane to take to the dorm. So it's communication, with your future roommate. And you're not asking the roommate, can you pay for everything? We'll split it.
Right.
We'll split it. But if you're literally driving an hour from your home to our dorm room, could you please bring XYZ? I'll pay you for half of it.
Right.
I'm flying 4 hours. I'm not packing certain things.
Right. And I think, the roommate situation, that's, some kids go random. My daughter was random. I think yours was random. So they end up with people that they've never met before, and they've got to figure it all out.
Yes.
Sometimes they will connect on Instagram or something like that, where they get to know each other and then they decide to be roommates. So there's a lot of it. And whichever way they go does not necessarily mean it's going to work out.
Correct.
You could go to school with your best friend and decide to be roommates and find out halfway through that you hate each other.
Right.
You really should never have been roommates in the first place.
Right.
So, there's so much stuff about roommates. Parents do not, you think that the biggest task is getting them into the school and, getting the stuff to outfit their room. I mean, okay, you can go all out and you can buy all the things and decor and coordinate all the decor. We just moved our daughters out of their dorms, 2 weeks ago? And the trash cans were overflowing. They had the bins for, the donation bins filled. So, all those really expensive bed toppers, they're in the bins. They're gone. There's the rolling carts, drawers, lamps, the fans. I mean, all this stuff, because people are like, they get to the end of the year and the parents are like, screw this up. Sorry.
I'm not bringing it home.
Unscripted. Did I tell you it's unscripted?
Yeah, I'm not going to.
Unfiltered today.
Right? Unfiltered.
I'm very unfiltered today. They don't want to fly this stuff home.
Nope.
So it goes in the trash.
Right.
So think about that when you're buying all the stuff.
You're buying it for a year.
9 months.
Yeah. It's
not
gonna,
a year. It's 9 months.
And it's not going to last them 4 years.
It's not going. I mean, if they're going to stay on campus, which most kids out of state are not going to do, it's garbage.
Yeah,
you're just throwing away thousands of dollars.
You don't need to buy them a Dyson fan.
Oh God, no.
It can be a $19 Walmart fan that rotates, because at the end of the year, it's not coming home with you.
It's done.
Yeah, be realistic.
But let's talk about the roommates.
Oh boy. So I think that it's a growing experience.
100%.
And that's what I've told both my daughters, who have had some different stories, coming from their roommates. And it's, no matter what, and everyone's family situation is different. My daughters both always had their own room. And so they didn't have to worry about, sharing a space.
And their own bathroom.
Well, they shared a bathroom, but it was a pretty big bathroom. So that was never really an issue. But as especially my younger daughter, being in this quad where there's 3 other girls, it's a lot. And it's something that does affect them emotionally, right? And so, you're studying for a midterm, but your roommate
has partied all night,
right? And is in the ER, and you have to go to the ER to make sure that your roommate's okay, but you have a midterm, the next day. These are real situations.
Or you're in bed thinking safely, comfortably in your bed, and your roommate brings a guy home and is having sex in the bunk below you.
Next to
you. Yes. And I mean, this is stuff that happens in parents.
It's reality. It's reality. Everyone says it's not going to happen to me. Oh, not my. And it's not my kid, but not the roommate. It happens. But again, it's all growing experiences, and they learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
And
well, there's also the other factor, which my daughter ended up dealing with, was a mental health situation, and she had a roommate that really struggled, and she went through all these different things. She cut all the girls. There was, the other 2 girls there, cut them off from social media, blocked them on their texting app that they used to keep in communication, and then went into the library and posted a picture of herself saying, "I wonder if anybody would notice if I were dead or if I died." And she unblocked my daughter, so my daughter saw it. It gave her a notification. And it's like, that's a lot.
Right.
That these, we're sending these brand new adults. These are like, you think about when our kids started to walk and they just started taking their first steps and they're unsteady on their feet. And we're not sending them off to run a marathon. We're not sending them off on their own. We're watching every step they make, right? Because they're new at this. They're just learning to walk. Our kids are just learning to adult. And we're sending them off with big adult problems that are out there.
Right.
And so communication, I think, really starting as early as you can with creating that communication with your child.
Like, what would you do if, like, scenarios. And I know you were talking about that the summer before both our daughters went to school. Like, you were throwing scenarios at your daughter. What would you do if this happened? Or what would you do if that happened? Because I guarantee you, it's not stuff they're thinking about.
No.
You know what I mean?
But I can't imagine, because they've been so sheltered for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I think that was a really great idea what you did, because it's reality. And my younger daughter, it was great because my older daughter, again, she's a junior this year, and then I have a freshman. She was telling my younger daughter certain things that she had been through, like, make sure you don't do this, make sure, when you go to a party, no matter whether people or not, do not drink anything that's been handed to you. Right. It has to have, if it's water, you have to open the top. Don't let someone hand you a bottle of open water.
And really be mindful of that. Hear the snap.
Right. Right.
Because that's happened.
Right.
That actually has been happening, I guess, in Ubers.
Yes.
When the kids are taking Uber or Lyft, the driver's like, here, have a drink.
Right.
Here's a bottle of water.
Right.
Because they've been partying. Like, no, you need to hydrate.
Right.
And it's already been opened and there's a substance in there. And I mean, there was a mom talking about it on one of the Facebook pages. Her daughter died.
Yeah. I mean, this is the world we live in. And
Yes.
a lot of parents, again, it's like the blindfold, like, oh, that's not going to, happen to my kid.
Or the other side of it is that's just college life.
Right.
They're going to drink. They're going to try things and resigning themselves to the fact that, well, that's just the way it goes. That's like saying, boys will be boys. Like, come on.
Right. But even, let me just say this and don't take this the wrong way. Even if your child's going to have a beer, all right?
Right.
It's very important that they open up the can of beer.
Right.
Because drinking a can of beer is not as bad as drinking a can of beer that's been opened and another substance has been put inside and now they're blacked out.
Well, and another thing I noticed, because, I went and for my daughter's sorority weekend, and she's like, Mom, you're going to come out with us. We're going to go to the bars, and they go and they have their music and their DJs and they're dancing and having a great, it was a great experience. I mean, literally, parents, when your kid's in college, go visit them, go to the places they go.
Right.
It's eye-opening and it's a lot of fun. Like you really get to see them in their element. But what I noticed is, and this is a bar for all ages, okay? So it's got alcohol, obviously.
Right.
And I saw the bar top had a bunch of open cans, okay? So the bartender is tending the bar, moving about, but you've got all these open cans, and they would grab an open can and go to pour it to make whatever drink mixture it was. And I'm like, oh, that is not safe.
No.
So helping your kids to, we have the term situational awareness. Like you want to have that situational awareness for all things on a college campus.
Right.
Looking for the inconsistencies, looking for what doesn't belong, noticing people and how they're moving and all of that. But the same thing is having situational awareness when they go out.
Right.
Because that is just as dangerous as somebody else handing you an open drink.
Right.
Because anybody could have gone there and been plopping stuff into those open cans, and now you've got a whole bar full of people that are that have been what's it? I want to say poisoned, but that's not the word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, scary stuff.
It's important that they know this.
It's a lot of through the year, through the freshman year, we got to go visit our girls because, again, they go to the same college, which is super fun for us.
Yes.
Friends.
Yes.
And visiting your kid and what that looks like, and being able to, when you're on campus with the kids and being able to kind of interact with their friends and stuff like that. I mean, you got to do a little bit of that too.
So we both moved our daughters in August, and then we went back. Was it the very beginning of October for the parents' weekend, or was it still September? The end of September?
I think it was end of September.
They had been in school for about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
When we went back, and my daughter was homesick. She liked the school. She liked her classes, but it is very overwhelming because everything's new. Yeah. And she was homesick, and that was a very difficult visit for me. Yeah. To see her just not as happy as I would like her to be. Yeah. But what I did try and explain to her is that everything that they're experiencing for the first 2 months of school is new for them. Everything. And it's not just classes. It's not going from a high school where you have 30 students in a class to a lecture hall where there's 200. That's the least of their worries. Yeah. It's eating in the cafeteria. It's showering maybe in a communal shower. Right. It is, living with roommates. We just talked about everything's new. And so what I tried to explain to her is the longer you're here, this new is going to become your normal.
Right. That's a great point.
Little by little, it will become your normal. And now you're not going to have to work so hard to make everything perfect.
Yeah.
And also you're going, the more things that you involve yourself in, the more friends you're going to make. You're not going to make friends in your room. studying, and not to say not to study,
Right.
but there has to be, equality in everything that you do. Join clubs,
Yes.
join clubs, get out there, go to events. You don't have to go to a party to make friends,
Right.
but there's tons of clubs, there's tons of activities. And I did see as the year moved on, like when she came home for winter break, it was a lot better. She wasn't as homesick. She actually looked forward to going back. And I will say this to you, I don't know if we had this conversation yet, but she's been home for 2 weeks. And she actually said to me over the weekend that she loves being here, but she's a little bit homesick for school. And so for me, I was like,
new normal.
That's their new normal.
Right.
And for me, like, it didn't make me sad. I was like, great, because
Fantastic.
that again means you like where you're at.
Right.
And it means you belong there. You know what I mean? And so I was very happy to hear that, because I'd rather hear that than have what I had at the end of September.
Right. And I think that, like you were saying, you saw her the first visit feeling homesick, and that's hard. I mean, like, we're connected to our kids, and we want them happy, and
It's so hard as a mom. Oh.
And it's like you're the first thing you think of is like, okay, I'll just take you home, and
right.
you'll be fine at home, and I'll just tuck you in your bed, and feed you cookies and milk, and everything will be great. And really holding back from that, and I think that's probably one of the hardest things is, we are launching our kids into their adult world, and not ignoring the signs of maybe something more, a higher level of depression, anxiety. There's that too, and and it's such a fine line to walk. And I watch a lot of the social media stuff. I read what parents are posting. My kid is struggling. My kid is tanking. They want to come home. Like, they're begging to come home. And, like, at what point do you say, this is not working, and it's a serious mental health issue? And at what point are you seeking help from the school, which is very difficult, because if, people don't know about it's a thing called FERPA. It's a Federal Education, I don't know, something Protection Act, Records Protection Act. So pretty much anything that happens once they turn 18 is you don't get access to unless you get those forms signed. So this is probably something we should have talked about before we send them off to school, but no, important, getting the power of attorney signed before they go to college.
Yes.
Getting the FERPA release signed so that you have access to their records. Right. Because schools will not call you. It's not like when they're in high school, hey, your kid's getting an F in the class, and your kid's a behavior problem, or whatever might happen in high school. When they're in college, they can even, they're not going to tell you.
No. So back to the original story, one of my daughter's roommates was taken from the dorm to, and the university has a hospital on campus, taken to the ER of the hospital because she had blacked out. She had passed out.
From alcohol.
Yes. And the only reason why my daughter knew was because another roommate had told her about it. But the school and the hospital didn't contact the parents. Yeah. That daughter spent the night passed out in the ER. Yeah. Right. And what my daughter did when she went to visit the roommate was they had exchanged like different contact information on their phones. Right. Which is actually very important to do.
Yes. And the parents' numbers. Get the parents' numbers.
And what my daughter did, just to be safe, was my daughter contacted the sister of the roommate. Right. Because the sister of the roommate, what my daughter said is, let her decide what to do with this family, because I'm not familiar with the family and the dynamics and whatnot. So I'm going to contact somebody, but I don't know if I should necessarily contact the parents. Right. So but again, going back, no, the school will not contact you. Right. You will not know. Now, the only reason, which is a funny story, the parents knew what happened was 3 weeks later, they got a bill in the mail from the ER, right? And they called the daughter and you're like, why did I get a bill from the ER? Right? And the daughter was like, oops, I didn't tell you, after the fact. Right. But yeah.
Well, and with my daughter, with the girl that had the mental health situation, and my daughter called me immediately, Mom, what do I do?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, number one, you call the RA.
Right.
Immediately.
Absolutely.
And that's your first form of contact. But the RA is a student.
Yes.
And I said, and the school needs to be notified. And the parent, I had the mother, so I got the parents' phone numbers for all the roommates and the roommates' numbers, because in case of an emergency, and I made sure they all had my number.
Right.
In case of an emergency, I want you to be able to contact me. I don't want you to have to go through channels to get a hold of me. And I said to my daughter, I need to call her mom. She's like, Mom, please don't. And it was, she didn't want to, it's such a hard thing. Like, she didn't want to exacerbate her situation because she didn't know where she was. She had to hand it over to the RA and then to the school. But they still did not contact the parents. And, I think parents need to understand that this is
very different from high school.
A very, very different thing. And staying in contact with your kids. Don't just make phone calls, but do FaceTime if you can, really, and ask them the hard questions and talk to them about how they're feeling, and, not just how are you feeling and get it good. Well, what does good mean to you?
Right.
Right.
What, are you socializing? Are you getting out there?
Getting a little bit deeper into what's really going on with them. Asking them about school, asking them if there's anything that they want to talk to you about, keeping that space open. And, you and I both know there was a story when our girls were, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a family at the school whose daughter was out of college, and she ended her life. And the parents were absolutely shocked to find out that she was under disciplinary action.
Right.
And I'm speaking of this, it's because they actually have the family has actually gone forward and pursued legislative change. So there is an actual act that is under the daughter's name, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but because she was under disciplinary action, she was not apparently coping and equipped to be able to handle it. She did not tell her family about it.
Right.
And she let that take over and made a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So there is this act now that if a child is under disciplinary action of any kind, that they have to be assigned an advocate.
That's good.
So at least there's that.
Right.
And I probably should have done a little bit more research to find out exactly all the parameters of that. But I love that that is happening because, I mean, if you read any of the social media, these kids, again, they're brand new baby adults.
Right.
And they're handling big life problems just with the skill set that they, whatever skill set they leave home with that's what they've got.
Right.
And it can be a little scary.
Absolutely.
It can be a lot scary.
Yeah.
We were talking about the roommates earlier, and this is the kind of one of the last thing I wanted to talk about today is bringing your freshmen home. So they've been off to college for a year or for 9 months really, and they're coming home. And they're coming home not as, they're not brand new baby adults. Now they're toddler adults with a little attitude, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got a little bit of attitude.
I've been on my own.
I'm making my decisions. I'm coming in when I want, or maybe not. But, they're doing their own thing when they want to do it. And you know what? I've been doing my own thing for the last month,
right? Yes.
I'm doing my own.
Yes.
So one of the things that my daughter did, and I don't know if yours did, when they first came together as roommates, I think the school requires it, but they created a roommate agreement.
Okay.
And that roommate agreement was they all had to agree to whatever the parameters were. And, they came up with, like no guests overnight, and which apparently your daughters
didn't work with mine.
They weren't going to eat in the bedroom area. They, they did a Sunday reset. So they would clean the room on Sunday and do the wash and all that stuff, just little things like that. It helped with communication. They would have roommate meetings. So when I was getting ready to bring my daughter home, I started having conversations with her. I said, so what are your expectations when you come home?
That was good.
What is
Very
it
good.
that how do you see yourself when you come back home and are living in the house? Like, what are your expectations of me?
Right.
What are your expectations of the boundaries, the rules, the whatever? And we had a conversation about it. And I said, we're not going to sit and make a formal roommate agreement, but for some families that might be a thing. Right. They might need that. You may have more than just a mom or a mom and a dad in the house. You may have other people that, you still have to, still have your family dynamics and family value system. Right. So if your family value system says, no, we don't party until 2-3 in the morning, coming home, throwing up all the way up the staircase.
Right.
You know, having that conversation. And
Well, and I like that. I like having the conversation before they come home because, to be fair, they've been living a very different life for the past 9 months that they've gotten used to.
Right.
And it might not even be partying, but they might, because of the classes that they have or the class times, they might be used to going to bed at 2, 3 in the morning and sleeping in till 11, 12 because they don't have classes until 1. Well, if your family, if everyone's working and they're getting up at 6 in the morning, you might not want to hear the TV on at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? So to be fair, that's a great conversation to have before they come home and before it starts up, because their normal might not be your normal. And now you guys are all back together again.
And also understanding that they're coming into your home and that, you're not going to change everything to accommodate them.
Correct.
They're going to get to go back to school and they get to do their thing again. But we got to find a way to meet in the middle.
Right.
And again, you've got your family values framework, which might be respect and honesty and, whatever your core values are in your family. And if you focus it all on that, I think it will help. It's not about rules or saying you have to do it my way.
Right.
It's just how are we going to all get along?
Correct. And if you do it before they come home, then tempers aren't flaring and everyone's calm. And that's a great idea.
And it sets expectations. I think if you have, I think setting expectations is a key aspect.
I agree.
Because, we're not all like making up stuff in our own head about what this is going to look like.
Right. That's a great idea.
So, all right. Well, we have successfully
Covered,
I think, about everything in
high school, first year college.
Yes.
So we've gone through it all.
Yeah. And then, the whole empty nesting process and, figuring out our lives outside of parenting our kids.
Right.
It's been fun. It's been, I don't know. I've had a lot of fun this last year watching my daughter grow, watching her experience all the things and have fun. And
absolutely. And seeing how they handle certain situations is also very interesting because it gives an insight into them as well.
Well, and also we find out that even though we think they weren't listening.
Yes. And a lot of times, like, it's very interesting, like with both my daughters, is that they didn't realize when they lived in my house how the house was kept as far as cleanliness until they left it. And then they were in situations where it wasn't as clean or neat and tidy. And then, they were like, well, wait a minute, like, we don't like it this way. We want it the way you have it.
Right.
And a lot of times it takes them leaving the house to realize, wait a minute, not everybody lives this way.
Right. Yeah.
That was fun.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of, an acknowledgement.
Yes.
That it's like, okay, what I said mattered and it sunk in, it got in.
Right. Somewhere.
And they're going to carry it forward. And then they will pass it on to other people as well.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what I noticed.
Absolutely.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, this was great.
It was
a lot of
fun.
fun.
I love talking about this, and I'm hoping that everyone out there is getting a little bit of...
Hope everybody learned a little bit of something.
Yes. And, just, if you have any questions about the college process, you can put it in the comments. You can ask more questions about other topics relating to the college application process or sending your kid off to college or whatever. Send me a message, put it in the comments, and I would love to talk about it again. And,
absolutely.
There's probably more to talk about with this. So thank you for joining us today. And thank you again to Stacey from
Thank you.
Today's College Solutions. We'll plug them
Yes.
again for coming and talking about this and sharing all this information.
It's been fun.
See you again next time.